Hi, welcome to my vlog number 6. Today I'm going to talk about further topics for a screen-free life. So in particular, I'm going to talk about how we can use audio to communicate in our world rather than using screens as much as we do. The most obvious old school thing is radio. So if you remember, in the days before we had screens to any great extent, everyone was gathered around the radio listening to their radio serials. And a lot of what became the early television serials were actually follow-ons from previously produced radio serials. And so radio had a tradition of being able to be quite an emotive and emotionally engaging medium. And some people have even suggested that the visual impact of television has actually made people lazy in terms of writing emotionally engaging words for the entertainment medium, instead relying on face takes, double takes, reaction shots. So perhaps returning to the world of radio will be a positive thing for many people. The other advantage of radio was that it could operate in either a group or an individual mode. So it actually became the focus of the household, with the classic picture of everyone gathered around the radio to either listen to their favourite radio series or otherwise to hear momentous news such as world wars begun and ended. So it was a very strong medium for bringing people together. However, it was also a way of the world reaching into an individual's life and giving a sense of community. So how often has a teenager in a small town who might have felt isolated from the rest of the world been able to check in with Casey Kasem or someone else giving the top 40 countdown, sort of linked them up and reinforced their nationwide acceptance into the latest style zeitgeist. Also as a way of individual entertainment for people travelling in cars. So we find that many of the radio shows are drive shows. So classically now people listen to the radio most when they're either travelling to or from work, on a long vacation on the road. And I can personally say that on long road vacations, sometimes the flavour of the locale was embodied in the radio station, the local AM radio station, or later local FM radio station. In some ways this has been lost. There's been a consolidation of programming across regions so that you get sharing of programming and not so much local programming in terms of actual entertainment style and taste. However, one of the enduring and necessary features of local radio is local advertisements, and it's from these local advertisements and what's the interest of the local advertisements that can give you the flavour of the locale. So you find when you're in a rural area, the advertisements might be about the best barn building company, the best four-wheel drive or pickup to use on the farm, or it may be about lambing, which is when sheep have their lambs, but it can be a highlight of a local region's community interest when there's some particularly important agricultural event or time frame that they're sitting in. So this is a legacy of radio which I think should be remembered when people are looking forward to a screen-free life of the future, where rather than having bulk radio talking to many people at once, there's potentially the option of having almost individual radio channels, so that the underlying software will try and determine what the person's interests are and play to those interests and engage the person, even to the point of giving them only the news that they want to hear if they're of a particular political spectrum. And we already see this in the polarization of the United States media channels on cable TV or even on free-to-air into pro-Democrat and pro-Republican style channels and news. Well, it's possible that an individualized radio channel or individualized audio feed can give you this raised to the power of 10, so that it runs the risk of creating almost a personal ghetto for yourself, where you're isolated from the thinking of those around you, or at least not aware of the diversity of thinking that is around you. So that is also part of the remit often of the publicly funded media channels, to try and give voice to this diversity. Sometimes there is an element of isolating particular ethnic groups to particular channels, which they can see as something that is very positive and something that they value, but also again runs the risk of having a disconnect between particular ethnic groups and their media flows and the broader community. So this is an ethical and a practical question of how much to either mandate or encourage or support this concept of keeping people in the community aware of others in their community. However, one of the issues with switching to more audio streams without a directly engaging screen presence or visual component is how this might affect the monetization or the remuneration for doing this type of work. If people are finding that they want to present to others their message in the advertisement as a visual advertisement, then it may be hard to actually make sure that the production of largely audio streams is going to be financially viable. And already we see some pressures on, for example, radio stations to maintain their ad revenue. Perhaps this is one of the reasons why there is a focus on drive time radio, because that's one time when the advertisers in the radio world can be assured that the person is actually paying, if not pure attention to the audio stream, they're not being bombarded by other than billboard ads as they travel along. So there's no video screen that they're allowed to watch in the car while they're traveling. This may also be another reason for trying to emphasize workplace radio. So this is the radio stations that promote themselves as, if you like, the background music to your workday, playing the popular songs. And again, this is perhaps a way of showing to the advertisers that their target audience won't be listening with one ear to the audio stream, but then watching ads on another medium, and so reducing the effectiveness of the audio ads. Another option, I guess, is to think about if you've got a largely audio stream, what's the best way to use the visual bandwidth that in many ways is sent by default along with the audio stream in many cases. So for example, even watching this vlog at YouTube, how can I make sure that the images that go with my narration are the most engaging and effective? So one of the things I'll do is review some books that talk about the value of advertisements in terms of audio, visual. Also there's the classic Marshall McLuhan works of the medium is the message, and talking about how the media landscape changes affect society as a whole. So that's all for this vlog today, and I'll talk to you and show you pictures tomorrow. Bye.